Welcome back to the 615 Locker Room Podcast. I'm your host, Wormy. We're dealing with Uncle Matt or Matt. Wow. So, second game of the MLS. Let's just jump right into the second game of the MLS season. We're still at the second standing in the Eastern Conference, but man, it's one of the. I have a new friend who's been a lifelong Premier League fan. He's a Man City fan, unfortunately for you. He, but we went to a game. We went to the Miami game at the end of the season, last one, and then he came over to my house to watch a couple. I have a pretty big TV, but just like the past few times that he's came over to the house for the watch party, it's been just boring matches. Like this match was super boring in my opinion. There wasn't a ton. We see we saw Matthew Corcoran get lit up by the ref a little bit there at the end and get his first red card. But I, it's like it's hard as someone who's trying to actively learn the process of soccer. Like whenever there's not like the keys jangling in front of you, like it's hard to really grasp how a game went. It seemed like the possession, like because sometimes you can be like, okay, well, we've at least held on to it in our half for the most part, but even then, like I feel like that switched a lot in this game between Nashville and Dallas. So hopefully you can give me some better insight. I know we had a few missed chances, but what did you think of the game? Were you as bored as I was?
Yeah, no, I mean, first thing I would say is like obviously, like I'll give some insight here if I can, but at the same time, if you go back to our episode last week, I said this is going to be a game full of goals. Both teams have good attacking players. I was predicting like a 4-2 score line and we get 0-0. So preface everything I'm about to say by saying I clearly know nothing. I'm just doing my best here, but to go from saying, "Oh, it's going to be a goal fest," to seeing a 0-0 game was definitely like "Oh, maybe I'm not as smart as I think you are." I do think from a Nashville SC perspective, like the big key, obviously stand out from the match was surprisingly missing Sam Surridge. Misses the match through illness, late kind of a news that came out Friday. And this early in the season, when you're kind of building around certain players, certain things, expecting things to go a certain way, to have that kind of curveball thrown your way can kind of really be a huge wrinkle, especially because like beyond our starting 11, I think we're still looking to find who those next guys are, that next depth players are going to be. There wasn't, the natural, like obvious, okay, Sam's out, this guy jumps in right now type of situation, type of solution for it. And I think you kind of saw that we still control possession. We still looked good in certain attacking senses, but there was a big Sam Surridge hole in our point of our attack, and it wasn't so much like even him as much as it was just like the player who could be in those spaces just wasn't there. Like Hani's coming deeper into midfield this season a little bit to kind of get on the ball more. Madrigal and Espinoza, Madrigal who like supposedly is like a striker. He definitely seems like he's more of a winger to me, but they were both kind of hanging out wide. Hani's coming deep, so we really just did not have that kind of central presence kind of to hold up play, to kind of be like the point of the attack, to kind of be the target man that we could run everything through. And I think you saw late, some of our better chances came when Wubin Pacius came on, and we kind of had that player, that kind of target player, that kind of central player that we could either play through or play off of. I think even the two really good chances Chris Spinoza had late in the game may have come after Wubin came on. I can't remember exactly how it went, but it definitely seemed like, and that's a testament to National C's advancement as a roster, is that it wasn't as much Sam's skill level that we missed. It was just that kind of person to play that role, play that position, that seemed like the big gap to me, because it felt like we controlled the game. We created some decent chances. Yeah, I can definitely see why a lot of people would find it boring, and it wasn't the most entertaining game for me either. But I definitely feel like there was a lot of times where like Hani's bringing the ball up the field, or Christian Espinoza's on the right, or Madrigal's on the left, and we're kind of like expecting to have that kind of central player to play into, and there's nobody there because everybody's kind of vacated that spots. So it was kind of like a broke up kind of what we wanted to look at, wanted to play, and having to change formation a little bit. This early in the season probably didn't help us very much, but it's one of those things where, like, in soccer, a general rule of thumb is getting a point on the road is never a bad result. I was kind of looking at our schedule coming up, and I'm kind of like, well, this would have been a great time to get 3 points, because this might be the last kind of I don't want to say easy, but easier opponent we have for a little stretch here. The next couple of games are going to be really tough. But now with Cochran, I believe it's a 1 game suspension for the double yellow,
Yeah.
so he'll miss the weekend game. But so that makes us a little thinner there too. But you would expect Sam to kind of be back after illness. I guess it was just probably flu or something like that because we had like 2 or 3 players that all seemed like they got hit with it or something like that. So, um, yeah, it's a tough game on the road. Tough like curveball getting thrown, losing your main man, your top striker right before the match. I thought they did well. I thought maybe we could have gotten a little better. I think Christian Espinoza, the 2 chances he had late, a month from now, when he's really in rhythm, when he's really in form, he's
Yeah.
probably burying those 2 chances because those were 2 really, really good chances that he just pushed a little wide. So, early days in the season, like we said last week, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves with like the good result we had last week. Don't want to get too down on ourselves for kind of a mediocre result here. But like I said,
Yeah.
still good things. This is the kind of game where like a couple of years ago, missing a Sam Surridge, missing a Hani Mukhtar type player from your lineup, Nashville SC could have easily just fallen apart and gotten a bad result. So playing pretty good and getting a draw. You want to win every match if you can, but we'll take that one, I think.
Yeah. I agree. And I think I guess my main thing, and like obviously, there needs to be more time to develop this, but we have so many attacking options. You would think that we could pivot to make something, get a goal somehow, which that's way easier said than done. Obviously, like the hockey games, just shoot more, right? Um,
Yeah.
that's me over here preaching like, hey, we have 3 attacking guys, you just get more chances. But obviously, that's way easier said than done. But I just kind of expected that we were bringing in such a strong attacking that in situations like this, we would be more available to sort of business as usual.
Yeah, I think there's definitely like I definitely was doing a little bit morning quarterbacking of the game afterwards, but I think there was some things where I think BJ is still kind of like learning what he's got in this team right now, and like there's maybe some things he might have done a little differently in this match if he had the choice, but kind of waited a little while to make substitutions. But I think he was looking and he was seeing that things were generally going well. There wasn't anybody that was like the obvious this guy's playing bad, let's get him off type of player. I think when he started making the substitutions, he took. I think Eddie was the first one he took off, and I think that was as much
Mhm.
because Eddie was on a yellow card, ironically enough, and he was trying to get Eddie out to protect Eddie. And then but like I kind of mentioned, like I think maybe one of the reasons he maybe didn't go with a straight swap of like saying bringing on Wubin to play striker for Sam is Wubin's still untested at the MLS level. He's been really good in USL. He's been
Yeah.
really good MLS next, but like this is kind of the season where he's first kind of getting broken in as an
Mhm.
MLS player. So maybe not fully knowing if that was the best way to go. I can totally understand that.
Yeah.
Maybe not wanting to break up what they were doing in an attack with an early sub, too. And like money quarterback, he would once again also say, hey, you got another midfielder on a yellow card, maybe get him off the field too. But at the same time, hard to make substitutions there. We didn't have a whole lot of options in terms of midfield. Like could have brought on Brian Acosta maybe for Corcoran, but same time, like you kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. A coach of that, you take a good player off for a kind of lesser player.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is. I think BJ's still kind of feeling out some of the new additions, some of the roster makeup that he's got here. Probably some things he would have done a little differently, maybe. But anybody can say that. 2020 vision, hindsight is 2020. That's the word phrase I was looking for there. It's easy to look back at the game and go like, well, I should have done this instead of that or something like that. But I thought overall, getting thrown that kind of curveball, Sam late, getting thrown the unexpected kind of red card situation. I think we're learning some things. I think we saw when Wubin came on, he is a player maybe we can trust a little bit more, that we'll see a little bit more early in other opportunities like that. So, um, yeah, it's definitely one where I think BJ is kind of figuring out what he's got, and I think we'll
Mhm.
get more opportunities to see kind of the rotational players, the depth players in this next week or so with all the matches we're going to have coming up, and definitely expect to see some squad rotation at some point.
Yeah, and all these criticisms. I don't mean to speak for you, but it's the second game, so all the issues will probably get ironed out. If they don't, then there's issues whenever we got two games left and we're still doing the same stuff from the beginning of the season that isn't working. Now we can talk, but
Mm.
successes and failures right now are all just kind of measurements that will help us define the middle and the end. We're still testing the new guys. And BJ is still, he's in his second season as a coach. I mean, he's still figuring it out too a little bit, I'd say. Um, but looking forward, I don't have any more on that game really, unless you do.
No, no, nothing too much else. I think we said kind of everything there was to say. There's not too much you can really
Yeah.
talk about it in a 0-0 draw in the second match of the season. There's still a lot of season to go, a lot more to learn about this team. The Corcoran red card was kind of unfortunate, but you put yourself in that kind of position as a player when you're already on a yellow and you kind of make a risky challenge. Like, I don't know that like the foul that he got the second yellow on would have been a yellow card in just the natural flow of game, because he got a little bit of the ball, did decent. He did go through the player to get the ball, but I think when you're already on a yellow, that's a challenge you just can't make. So he's young, he'll learn from that, and he'll come back better, because he was pretty good throughout the match. He's been pretty good in most of his appearances thus far this season. So yeah, it's easy to like kind of rag on a player when they get the red card in that spot, but I don't give him too much grief for that. And I think he's a player we could expect to see a lot from going forward.
Yeah, that's I mean that's probably one of his first handfuls of starting at the MLS level. So making mistakes is it's fine. I get it. I did now that you bring that up, the refing I did feel was kind of weird. I feel like we saw a lot of things go for both sides in the first half, and then at the end we kind of started seeing more uh, I guess, penalizing come out uh, with some help from VAR. But I felt it was kind of weird. It kind of worked both ways though. So like I'm not really complaining or praising it, but I felt like the repping was just they were letting a lot go in the first half. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, I think that's like, generally like something I've just really kind of seen from MLS officiating in general, really kind of since Nash really came into the league. It seems like the one thing the officials in our league are lacking compared to the rest of the world, which I mean, everybody's going to complain about refs no matter what sport, no matter what league. But I mean, I think if there is one thing, I'm a referee myself, if there's one thing I would kind of like to see a little bit more of from MLS officials, it's, to your point, a little more consistency. It does feel like sometimes it's taking our referees a little bit, like you watch the Premier League or something like that, and like there might be some early stuff where the referees are kind of feeling out the game, kind of seeing what the players want. Like even at my level of refereeing, that's kind of a
Mm-hmm.
part of what I do. Sometimes you get a game and you can just tell the players want you to call every little dinky thing, and then you get other games where like the players just want to play and they want you to just get out of their way. So you kind of got to figure that out as a referee. And I think MLS referees don't do as good a job of that as referees in other leagues do, where it seems to take them longer to figure out how much they need to be involved in the game, and then a game like this, you kind of see it, they don't figure it out quick enough, and then there's a little bit of overcorrection, and then they're trying to get back control, and then you start seeing just random stuff that you're like, well, you didn't call that in the first half. Why are we suddenly calling that now? So I do think that's kind of a general across the board thing that MLS referees struggle with, is just like the figuring out the flow of the game early and then having some consistency throughout the game. It seems like a lot of MLS games kind of go the way this one went, where there's a lot let go early, and that's kind of the way I referee, is I let stuff go early, figure out what the players want, and then try to adjust. But it seems like the MLS refs don't adjust quick enough, and then all of a sudden they're having to overcorrect too much. So I think that's a great
Yeah.
point by you.
I don't know. We talked about this kind of off topic from our Nashville SC game, but the LAFC versus Miami, whenever LAFC just stomped Miami, and then Messi was having to be held back from the refereeing locker room. I don't know if we talked about this last week or not, but that's just insane, right?
No, yeah, that was ridiculous, hilarious. Like how they were like, well, he didn't technically enter the referee locker room, so there's no additional sanction for him. And it's like, it's one of those things where like, I didn't watch the full match. I watched highlights of it, and like there was a couple like ones where it just looked like, I don't know if he's just used to getting more protection. Like there was some hard challenges on him that kind of didn't get called, but it was also kind of like I didn't see anything in what I saw from that match of what would make you chase the referees into the tunnel. I mean, you lose a game 3-0. There's you can't really be chasing referees in the locker room at some point in time. Like you got score line. The referees don't cost you that kind of match. But I think maybe that's a degree of like Messi having a little extra protection, a little extra safety net usually, and when he doesn't get it, he's got a thing. And then obviously the MLS, goes a little extra for him and goes like, well, he didn't technically go into the referee locker room, so we're not going to punish him for. It's like, well, he still chased him down the tunnel. He was trying to get in there. He just
Yeah.
got stopped by Luis Suarez, the voice of reason, for once in his life. It's like, what the heck? What the heck are we doing here? But yeah, that was crazy. Of course, they bounced back. They had a good result this weekend after looked like they just needed to wake up, and now they
Mhm.
just in time to play us in a couple weeks. They seem to get the wake up
Yeah.
call against Orlando this past weekend, going down 2-0 and then exploding to come back and win 4-2. So, hooray! Miami early season lull seems to be wrapping up just in time to play us.
I saw a clip of Messi doing a little banter to the Orlando coach where he was like asking him if he wanted to autograph, which
Yeah.
I thought was pretty funny. That's like the one thing Messi has done. I was like, okay, it's this guy. This guy's funny.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of some of the stuff, like obviously there's like a little bit of negativity around Messi from non-Miami fans, just like the whatever. But like I like to see stuff like that. I like to see the way he carries himself in MLS because like we've seen so many players over the years that come to the MLS, and it's just like a late career paycheck for them, and like
Mhm.
you can tell he's still kind of like excited to play, excited to score goals, excited to like talk that trash and like have those good moments, stuff like that. He's not just here for the paycheck. So I mean, it sucks to be on the other end of it, to not be a part of the Messi party, but definitely I think it's a good thing to have a player like that, especially like arguably maybe the best player of all time, being here and clearly having a little bit of passion, a little bit of care for how he's playing and how he's doing in the league. He's not just here to cash a paycheck. To your point, there was a great like photo from his, I don't know if it was his first or second goal in the match, where he basically celebrated in front of like the supporter section or Orlando, and it's like 5,000 people all flipping him the bird, and he's just standing there like posing like I'm the god, you can't stop me, and it's just like what can you even do here?
Yeah, it's like the guy that's unstoppable, which like being on the other side that just makes you so much more angry at it because there's I don't know if it was at Orlando home or not, but like even if no matter where it is, Miami fans are going to take over, especially in another Florida game, I'd assume. So the being an Orlando fan of that stadium just had to be a terrible night. But looking ahead for Nashville, we're going to go back to a Western Conference team, which is Minnesota United. I actually did a little bit of research outside of this for a non-Nashville team for once, and we may get to see the debut of James Rodriguez. I had some of my friends who follow world soccer more kind of, you know, being very shocked that this guy was here in the states. Um, which looking at his individual stats, last year he really didn't do too much, but apparently he's a good player. And I'm excited to see the fans of Minnesota are excited for him to make his debut. Um, but other than that, what thoughts do you have against going to Minnesota next week?
Yeah, just talking about Rodriguez, he's honestly been like one of the more unique figures in world soccer for basically the last like 10, 15 years. He's one of those players where he had a big breakout World Cup. I want to say it was like the maybe 2018 World Cup, maybe even 2014. I can't remember how long ago it's been, but he was just like broke out for Colombia, just had player of the tournament level performance. This happens pretty much every World Cup. There's at least one or two players that just like come out of nowhere, like, and then they get a big deal. They move to a new big club from that. He goes to Real Madrid. Injuries and some other stuff, but just never is anywhere close to the player he looked like he was in the World Cup when he's at Real Madrid. Bounces around Europe for a while, goes to a couple different teams, never is anywhere close to what it looked like in that first World Cup. But then every time Colombia comes back for a World Cup, every time Colombia comes back for the Continental Tournament, the Copa Americas, he's a stud again. Like it's like he's like Clark Kent for whatever club team he plays for, and he's Superman when he plays for Colombia. So he's bounced around clubs forever. I believe like last year he like was in maybe Brazil and like Liga MX at the split over the season. Was a free agent, wasn't really anywhere up until this point this season, and he's a player for like the last 2 or 3 years where he's at that point where he's been rumored to be coming for MLS for a long time, but it's always been like Miami, LA, New York, Orlando, I think, was even rumored at some point in time. So like when he actually finally came to MLS and went to Minnesota of all places, it's like that's crazy because they've never taken like a huge swing on a player like that before. And like player of his profile, I think there's like a famous quote. I can't remember what club it was. He went to some club in Europe and was like, "Yeah, it's a little cold for my liking here." And now it's like he's going to Minnesota of all places. Like it was 20 degrees at kickoff for their game against Cincinnati this past weekend. So it'll be interesting to see what happens because like I said, like he's mostly been Clark Kent when it comes to like club level play, and then Superman for Columbia. But MLS is a different animal. Maybe he can take a little bit more advantage of the skill level in this league. We'll see. He was on the bench from this past weekend, but didn't play. So maybe, like you said, this is when he would get his debut against Nashville SC. Wouldn't expect him to jump right in the starting lineup, but he'll be on the bench again, I would think, and maybe could come on, especially if we can luckily get ahead early on or something like that. But I watched their match with Cincinnati this past weekend. They won that match 1-0. Cincinnati, obviously has been one of, as much as it pains me to say, has been one of the better teams in the East for the last few seasons, and they're kind of running it back for the most part. They are missing Evander, their top player, so they're not quite at their highest level right now. But Minnesota, like watching that match, they kind of reminded me of like Nashville SC like 2 years ago. Like they've got this really good player, Perea, I can't remember how to pronounce his name, which he's been trying to leave them for like 2 years, I think, but he somehow can't get out, so he has to stay there. He's really good. He's a talisman. He's like the Hani Mukhtar type player that kind of makes everything go. And when they can get him going, they looked really good. But outside of that, they look like a solid, competent team who, sturdy enough defensively, a little bit of possession, but they don't have like the other players that seem to be like electric, just kind of light you up, threatening, dangerous players that, top teams seem to have. So, it's early in the season. Obviously anything can happen. I think it should be a game Nashville SC can take advantage of. It will be interesting now because we do have the matchup with Miami coming up right after that in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. So, but it's a Wednesday match, so it's a little bit of a layoff. Both games are at home, so we're not having to travel or anything like that. So I could see us still kind of going pretty strong with our lineup against Minnesota and then being able to still go strong with the lineup against Miami on the following Wednesday. So they're a good team. I mean, I think that's kind of one of the big things I've seen so far this season, trying to watch a little bit more of the broader MLS is, I haven't really watched a match where I'm like, that team sucks. Like everybody in the league. I haven't seen
Toronto.
Montreal. I've been watching Montreal. Toronto is not very good. Kansas City, I think they actually pulled an upset last week. So I haven't watched the teams that most people expect to be bad, but like the teams in that middle tier, upper tier, everybody seems to be pretty competent, able to be at least a little bit competitive. So should be an interesting match, I would say. I like last week, like I said, last week I was like, oh, we're going to win this match 4-2. So like now I'm just like, I don't even know if I want to say what I think is going to happen in this match. I think it'll be fun. I think,
Yeah.
both teams have players that can do some stuff. Will they do it? Who knows?
Yeah. And I think it's I think predicting anything besides, a offensively fun game to watch for us is, I feel like that's fair, even though we did have kind of a more, uh, I guess, less exciting one this week. I mean, I think going forward, that's probably a good rule of thumb to predict. Um, but yeah, I'm on the same. I mean, we have like if you're looking at games played, it's about the same compared to us. 1-1 or maybe 2-1 them. But they're in the lower standing, but that's with the Western teams, whatever. I'm expecting a pretty fun matchup, pretty fair matchup. Um, me and my friend, we tuned into the Toronto game and caught the later part of that because him making the switch to starting to watch MLS from being a world soccer fan. Like I said, obviously he knew Walker Zimmerman and started watching before he left. So I was like, okay, let's go check out Toronto, see what he's doing. Zimmerman was doing the typical running up. They're down 3-0, running up and getting in the box. Um,
Yeah.
but they mentioned Josh Sargent in the commentary. And my friend was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, wow, there must be another Josh Sargent because there's this one guy who is really, really good." And I was like, the red haired dude. He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's him." They're talking about him coming to Toronto. He's like, it blew his mind. He couldn't believe it. So I was wondering if you had any. because I couldn't really give him thoughts on why you'd make a move like that to MLS. If you had any information that I could pass on and that maybe the viewers can understand the move, because he's having a good career over in the championship. So and he's on the younger side, 26, probably hasn't hit his prime. So what makes a player make a move like that to the MLS, especially Toronto?
Yeah, from just looking at past moves, kind of like that, and also kind of some stuff I've read about his situation specifically. It's kind of like he probably had gotten to the highest level he was going to get in Europe. Like I don't think Premier League teams were going to really come for him. It's almost kind of like similar to Sam Surridge, honestly, where it's like, you know, what's better? Is it to be a good player at the championship level, or is it to be a high paid player who's a star in the MLS kind of type of situation where he was good in the championship, like, Norwich City, like he'd been really good. He's in and out injuries, but, when he's been fit, he's been really good for them. But he's not a player who's ever going to end up being on like a top 10 Premier League level team. So kind of maybe it hit his ceiling in terms of what he was going to accomplish in Europe. So I'd read some stuff like that he's got a couple young kids, and it like maybe his family is never really fully moved over to Europe. Like he was kind of playing over there kind of
Mm-hmm.
situation, but maybe the wife and kids were home wherever home is here on the state side for them. So it's kind of a, even though it's Toronto, even though it's Canada, coming back over to MLS, you're a little bit closer to home, closer to like parents, grandparents, all that stuff. So it's a weird thing. Like, I think it's probably a combination of both things. Is getting back close to home. Um, Probably he's going to get paid more playing for Toronto than he was getting paid at the championship level. That's kind of a thing that's becoming a thing with more money getting pushed into MLS, is that we're paying players at a level
The
that's
biggest, it's the
not
biggest
quite.
transfer fee.
Yeah, yeah. So he's probably going to make more money playing here than he. I think it's kind of that similar thing. When Clint Dempsey came back to MLS, he was still at a level where he could have kept playing in England, um,
Mhm.
but he was going to make more money playing here. He was going to be back at home. He was going to be able to kind of like really have a little bit more settled. Whereas like his last couple of years in England, it kind of looked like he might have to bounce around a little bit and find a couple new teams because he hadn't really caught on at Spurs. So I think there are certain players, like if you're like the Pulisic level, if you're like the Weston McKennie level, you can keep going, you can keep pushing all the way in Europe for a while. But that next tier down, there's kind of a ceiling where it's like, do I really want to keep playing in the second division of England, making whatever I can make when I can come back? Toronto's not home, but home-ish, and make a lot more
Yeah,
money and probably like be a bigger player, more consistent. Like he's kind of on the fringe of the national team heading into the World Cup this year, so it's probably also an opportunity for him to get a lot more minutes. And like honestly, maybe he'll look a little better playing in MLS than he would in the championship, which can do good for him campaigning for a spot on the national team for the World Cup. But yeah, it's one of those where he definitely could have stuck it out, could have played a little while longer in England or Europe even, but just it's kind of like the level, you're not going to go any higher. He was not going to get to. He wasn't going to go play for a Manchester United, a Manchester City. He wasn't going to even like Pulisic playing at like an AC Milan. Like he'd kind of hit his ceiling there. So I think it probably was a come back home, be a little bit more comfortable, make a little more money, kind of settle into like the next half of your career type of situation. And, if he comes back, and it's the other thing. It's like it's been talked about with Sam a lot. Is like even though he's kind of in those later years, which is weird to say about somebody who's like 27, 28 years old. But, Sam's still at an age where, he's come here, he's been spectacular, and he's only
mhm.
become more desirable for English teams. Like we saw him getting, knocks on the door from clubs like Ipswich, Wolves over in
Mhm.
England. Josh Sargent, 26-year-old, he comes to MLS, he scores 25 goals, gets on the World Cup roster, has a good season. He might be right back to Europe a year later with an even bigger contract, a bigger opportunity. But I think wasn't catching eyeballs at Norwich to be able to do that. So this is maybe more of a platform for him to maybe give himself a second life in Europe.
Yeah, that's kind of what I came to the conclusion of. Obviously I didn't know all the things, and I saw there was also some tension within the club that kind of pushed him out, which that could be it. What he didn't say it, so I don't know. But yeah, I'm excited for him to come over here. I think it'll be fun to watch. I mean, we don't really play against Toronto all that much, so it shouldn't be too much of a annoying thing to have another super great player to come over here. But I'm excited for it. I just thought it was funny that it literally blew this guy's mind that
Yeah,
he was
yeah,
coming over here.
yeah. I think from your buddy's perspective, like there's still like a MLS. I don't want to say bias is not the right word, but like if you're just now kind of learning about MLS, like you kind of maybe don't know the steps the league has taken, the growth that it has, and so like the idea that a player would even leave a championship team in England to come to MLS probably does seem crazy. But like the money, the platform, the spotlight that you can get in MLS has grown so much over the last really 4 or 5 years that it's really probably changed, especially for like an American player. Like you're not going to see like a Sam was in a unique situation because he was kind of a fringe player, wasn't getting a lot of opportunities. But a top U.S. player is a little different, like especially marketing too. They can come back here and probably get some big sponsorship deals and stuff that maybe he's not getting playing for Norwich, who even at the championship level is just like very small potatoes when it comes to like the global stage of football. But like here, he can be one of the top 10 marquee faces of the league.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think if I was in that situation, which I mean, obviously I have a bias towards being somewhere where I grew up, but I'd take the deal of coming and being basically a face of the league and a powerhouse player if I could. So I I understand where that move is coming from. I don't think it's a weak move or anything.
I mean, Walker, we talked a little bit about him with Toronto. It's an interesting comparison. Like, he's kind of that same range level of player that Josh Sargent is, where he's a very, very good player. He could have
Mhm.
gone to Europe probably several times throughout his career, but it's kind of, big fish, small pond type of situation where he's far and away one of the best players in the MLS, staying here, goes over to Europe, gets you, maybe it's fun, it's great. I think most soccer players do want to go play in Europe because it is the top level, but
Yeah,
there's a balancing act of like, I'm going to get paid well here. I'm going to be one of the marquee players in the league. I go over there, I'm playing in Europe, but I'm just kind of another player in the grand scheme of things type situation.
yeah. Um, okay, cool. Yeah, well, thanks for helping add that insight to some of those big moves that you know don't make the most sense, but also do. So kind of not a lot has happened in the MLS world in our sphere. So I kind of want to take a second to make a new content announcement for the Wormy channel, or just I guess maybe a personal announcement too. But in September, I will be going for the first time to the most magical place on earth, the Disney theme park. I don't know if it's Disney World or Disneyland. It's one of them. Which one's in Orlando?
That's Disney World. That is the Walt Disney World Resort.
I will be going to the Walt Disney World Resort for the first time. My first time in Florida, even. Um,
Nice.
and
Wow.
I'm just super super excited. I'm gonna vlog it, and I know you're a big Disney fan, a
Oh
big
yeah.
goer of the parks. You do the Disney 5K or marathon, whichever one it is. So what should I prepare myself for? What should I know? That's a loaded question, but what are some must dos uh, in terms of preparing and in terms of visiting?
I mean, shoot, we could do a whole separate like multi-episode podcast series about that. I mean, I think the biggest, but just to kind of sum it up, like if I was going to tell somebody going for the first time, just to kind of ballpark it, uh, do your research, find out the stuff that seems like it's in the ballpark or what you want to do, because especially like if you're going for the first time, and like a lot of people, there's I've been very fortunate to be able to go quite a bit, but it's not cheap. There's a lot of people who go maybe once in their entire life. So biggest advice I can give is do your research. Find out the things that sound like stuff you want to do. Make the plan to make sure you get that stuff done. Prioritize that stuff. Um, it's not as hard to do everything as people make it to be. Like, you got to grind a little bit. You got to get up. You got to go do the rope drop. You got to be there, open to close. But like, I've done trips where I've been there for 3 days and rode almost every single ride. Which to me, I love the rides. That's like my number one thing. But like, the
Mhm.
food's incredible. Like, it's one thing that, like, when I was a kid, you don't think about it, but like, and maybe it's even gotten better, and that's why it's become a big thing. But the food's incredible. Obviously, drinking around the world at Epcot's become a huge thing. So one of the things I had done, because I probably went every few years with my parents, with my family growing up, and then I didn't really go again until I was an adult. Like, I think the first time I went was like 2018. That was probably the first time I'd been in over like 12 years. So it was my first time going as an adult, doing like the drink around the world, doing all this stuff.
Mhm.
And this is what actually weirdly got me into YouTube now, and I do YouTube videos now, is like, there's a bevy of Disney YouTubers who just like go to the
Mhm.
parks and they make videos about, this is the new thing that's going on now. This is the new food that's here. This is the new ride that just opened. I started watching all those people. So like, by the time I went back for the first time in like 12, 15 years, I felt like I had already like figured out everything I wanted to do. I had all the stuff that was new that I hadn't seen before. I knew what to do, knew how to figure it out and stuff like that. So like, that's the biggest advice I can get is research,
Mhm.
figure out what you want to prioritize, what you want to do. Like, if you're going to be a ride person, like, there's ways you can make a game plan to make sure you get as many rides in. If you want to be a food person, there's little hacks, little websites you can go to make sure you get the best reservations, the best food stuff, and stuff like that. So it's just it's hard to like say specifically. So, but that would be my biggest advice
Yeah.
to you as a first timer, just anybody kind of going for the first time. Do your research, make the plan, because it's going to be your first opportunity. You want to make the most of it. Have a plan. Don't just go down there and be like, oh, what's this? Who's this? Where this? There's so
Mhm.
much Disney content on YouTube that's like a great resource to figure out stuff. But ultimately, like I said, you got to figure out what you want the trip to be for you. Like, me and my wife are talking about going back maybe like in November or later this year, and like, she went with me and my family in like 2021, and we kind of did my family style vacation where it was mostly rides, a little bit of food, a little bit of stuff here and there, but all of us all doing stuff all together. And my wife kept being like, oh, I really wanted to like us break off and go do like drink around the world. I really wanted to like eat more. She wanted to like, she's much more of like, food beverage person than
Mhm.
like, I'm like, let's go ride Tower of Terror. She's like, let's go eat beignets in New Orleans and Epcot or something like that. And I'm like, so yeah, we're gonna go. If when we go back, me and her are gonna go do the Jesta version of the Disney trip. So figure out what your version of the Disney trip was, what the stuff
Yeah.
you most want to do is, and then start doing like the research of like how to prioritize that stuff. Would be my best advice to you.
Luckily, so it's kind of, we're going for two reasons. One, that it will be, obviously my birthday that week, but my girlfriend will have finished her master's program in child
Nice.
psychology, and she's a big Disney person. So she probably goes once a year, maybe sometimes. There was one year where she went like 3 times since I've known her, which is just ridiculous. But that's like when her family goes on a vacation, that's where they go. So luckily, I have a pro in her. We are actually we were watching like I was screen recording on FaceTime last night, and like we were watching like essentials to pack, and I was like, well, Matt goes to Disney, and I host a podcast. I co-host a podcast with him. Let's see if he has any videos we can watch. I think it was your June 2023 Disney trip. I think that was the time. Oh, we were watching some of those videos and cracking up. Uh, you on the rides just screaming your head off. And then the I think you drank around the world one day or something similar
Yep.
to that, and every drink, you had to remind the viewers that you aren't a drinker because you're not a
Yeah,
drinker.
you just gotta do it for the content, obviously. But no, like you said, what to pack. That's another key thing. Like, because the amount of walking, moving you will do at Disney World is un
Mhm.
uh replicable. I don't know if that's the right word there, but like, there's no other place in the world you're going to move and walk as much as you do at Disney World. Even if you do like a light, easy, leisurely Disney trip, you're going to walk and stuff like that. So, find your best possible shoes, find the shorts and pants that you don't chafe in, the shirts that you can wear and get a little sweaty, because it's always hot in Florida. It's always going to be like 100 degrees in Florida. So like, finding the outfits and the clothes, like I've gotten it down to where like the stuff I wear to Disney, I'm pretty comfortable in. So like, that's a big key thing, is get your most comfortable clothes, the stuff that like you can move
Mhm.
around in, because that'll make your trip so much better. Like, when we went last time, and Jesta was like, we were moving a lot more than Jesta wanted to move. Her feet were torn up. She was miserable. She's like, my feet are blistered and bloody. Ah. Got to get the right shoes. Got to get the right clothes. That's a big key. But having your girlfriend, fiance, whatever you said, having somebody like that, that's what's going to be great for you. Is that
Mhm.
she's going to be able to guide you, and like when you figure out what you most want to do, she'll be a good resource of like, this is how we do it, because like that's going to be when me and Jessica go back, is like, I know how to do multiple versions of a Disney trip. So
Mhm.
I know she wants to do more like the food, beverage style Disney trip. So I'm going to be able to kind of guide her and give her the trip she wants. Whereas, if we were doing my trip and I'm like, we're going to ride 50 rides every single day and we're going to ride Tower of Terror 7 straight times. So I can adjust because I know how to do it. So, like, you'll be in a good spot where you have a good person to guide you through that type of stuff and be able to kind of help you formulate your best Disney trip.
Yeah, my goal is to do hit like, so for example, like riding the Pirates ride is like something that's on my bucket list, because that's just like, that's such a I can't think of the word, but monumental, essential piece of Disney history and my childhood.
Sure.
Like, I literally have the Pirates tattoo.
Mm,
Um, so I mean, like,
nice.
I'm so excited to do that. My other goal is to try to spend as less money as possible, which going to Disney is probably that's probably a unrealistic goal to have. Um, what like, if I'm going down there and we're walking and I see a restaurant, what's one that I could be like, okay, Uncle Mad told me that I have to eat there.
Ooh, so let me think here. I want to give a good example. All right. So my number one place that like I don't think I could go to Disney and not go to. It's not even a restaurant. And this is not a drinker, but Baseline Tap House is this little bar snack area at Hollywood Studios. It's great because it's like got a total like chill, relaxed vibe. Feels like you can just hang out there. Like I think last time we went, me and Justin, my cousin, sat there for like 3 hours, just like eating like charcuterie boards, drinking beers. They were drinking beers. I wasn't drinking beers, but just hanging out because it was just like a cool spot, like this kind of like outside of like it's in the park, but you kind of feel like a little separate. So like I love Baseline food, actual restaurants. Magic Kingdom has a place called Liberty Tree Tavern that's like a Thanksgiving all you care to eat type spread, which you got to be careful when you eat that because that'll like knock you out eating that much food, especially like the turkey and all that can really kind of take it out of you. Um, Dang, if I had to pick like my absolute favorite restaurant at Disney, it's probably not even at the actual parks. There's a place at Disney Springs called the Boathouse, which Disney Springs
Okay.
is actually incredible. Like you almost got to plan a Disney Springs day into your trip just because
Mhm.
even though it's like basically a mall, it's so many good food, so many good bars, so many good shops. But Boathouse might be my number one restaurant in all of Disney World. That might be the one place I would say like if you can get to Boathouse, if you can get a Disney Springs day in, Boathouse is the way to go. Let me think if I can think of one other one in the parks. Ooh, what's the best food in the park?
I saw you went and
Ooh,
you got this. I forget. It's like a holiday turkey sub, but it was
that's That's also at Disney
yeah.
Springs. That's at Earl of Sandwich. So that was kind of like a good late night, like if you're at Disney Springs on a non-park day and maybe been hanging out, drinking, having a little sandwich at the end of the day. Only other, not only other, but the other park one I'd really maybe highlight is, and this is even a restaurant, but it might be the best food you can get in all of Disney World. There's a spring roll cart outside of Adventureland that has rotating spring rolls. Sometimes it's buffalo chicken, sometimes it's
Mhm.
pepperoni pizza, sometimes it's cheeseburger. They're
Okay.
incredible. They're awesome. They're on the bucket list. If you can get the spring rolls in Adventureland, you will be happy.
Okay. Yeah, my girlfriend loves spring rolls, so that would probably be right up our alley. So
There you go.
I'll pass these recommendations on to you, and then next week I'll let you know if she scoffed or if she agreed with you. She got so happy at the part in the vlog where, and I think this kind of it sort of hit me as a good representation of what a lot of people that go to Disney and kind of the feelings toward it. Um, you were in the hotel one night and the fireworks show had just came back. I think It's a Wonderful Life is maybe what it was called.
Happily ever
It like
after.
just came. There you go, happily ever. I'm not the biggest Disney fan. I love Star Wars, I love Marvel, and I like some Pixar. But like I've never been someone who kind of has dove into it as an adult. But anyways, happily ever after. And you could see it from your hotel, but in the video you're like, yeah, I don't want to watch it. I want the first time to see it again for me to be down there. And it hit her emotionally, and I think that was just like such a good kind of personification of Disney goers. Just like you want to be with the magic, and it means so much to so many people because it is like you get up and you go to work every day, and you're like, God, you know, another day. I'm really tired. I don't want to do this, but you go to Disney and you tap into such a beautiful and innocent part of what life was, and I think a lot of people feel that way. And I just represented that to me. I went on a little tangent there, but
Yeah, no, that's one of the few things like, there's always like this like kind of stigma about the Disney adults or whatever. And I'm just like, go, man, if you you don't know what you're missing. Because like if you're happy, just like, being in your little bubble, like being like, oh, I'm going to go to the bar every Saturday night and just watch, which I do this too, watch the football game or whatever. That's great. But like, very few people go to Disney and don't come out of it being like, I would like to meet the people that don't have a great time like at Disney, like because it's just like the whole experience just kind of takes you over a little bit.
I yeah, I'm so excited. In the process of starting to order stuff for it, and that's why it's really on my mind because we got the tickets in the hotel a few weeks ago, but
Nice.
my girlfriend's such a planner that she's like, yeah, we're gonna wear theme in our outfits. We're not doing the matching Disney T-shirt thing.
Ah,
We're not doing that,
oh,
but it's like,
dang.
is that a staple?
No, I've never done it. I think it's hilarious seeing the people that do it. I get great enjoyment out of it. I don't judge anybody who does, but it's very funny. Like some of the stuff. Like I remember because like that was just becoming a thing when I first went back. Was like the family T-shirts that people would wear. Like the funniest ones are like most expensive day ever, most expensive day ever. He paid for it type shirt. So I could never get Justin to do that, so that was never even on the table for us. But I do find a lot of hilarity when I've seen those people that wear those shirts. Like I have the closest I ever had to that was like I had a shirt. I haven't worn it in forever because I haven't been in a while. But like I have a T-shirt that's like it's like Maleficent, and it says my favorite Disney princess is my wife, or my favorite Disney villain is my wife. So that's
Hilarious.
one fun one I had. It's like there's like a lot of fun like T-shirts I can get that without necessarily doing the full on like family matching one and stuff like that. So yeah, it's good that you're doing the prep now, like already buying stuff, getting ready, because like that's the other thing is like you don't want to just sneak up on you and like last minute be trying to like, oh, can I get this Amazon shipped to me like in like 24 hours before we leave or whatever. So it sounds like you're already off to a good start having a built-in tour guide and already doing the prep on stuff. So I think you're in a good shape for a fun trip.
Yeah, I'm super super stoked for it. It'll be something it will be unlike anything that I have ever done before. I think the closest thing I can think of is that I went to like the real Alcatraz a few years ago,
Nice.
which is just it's so different, but that's like a big thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh yeah.
this will be different. I'm going to purchase the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 that I know is so trusty to you, um, so I can get some good, unforgettable footage
Mhm.
there.
Yeah, that one was. I think I've only had it. I don't think I even. I don't know if I've even had it at Disney yet. I had a camera that was like really good quality, but like so much walking at Disney. Like I felt like 90% of stuff I record there, I'm like, ugh, shaking my hand, and like it was all way less steady than I thought it was gonna be. So like, I don't think I've been to Disney since I got the DJI, but like that's one of the reasons I got it was because it kind of stabilizes. It kind of is built-in gimbal, so like stuff like that where I'm going and moving and doing active stuff, like it would be a little bit better video quality. Like it's not a cheap camera, but I think it's been 100% worth it, especially for like content like that. I think it's worth every penny.
I think in the series
Free
that
plug.
we're yeah, free was the sponsored, not sponsored or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but I think in the series that we're watching right now of yours is that you've lost this camera probably 3 or 4 times, the one that you're
Oh,
using. Like everything you're like future Matt here. Yeah, I'm gonna be super pissed off for like the first 10 minutes, but then I found it under dirty clothes. So it
yeah.
cheers
That
up.
was that was like a double like all-time tragedy because I was like, I lost this camera. Like, because we went to a bar. I don't know what happened. We went to this bar that like a lot of Disney cast members go to when they get off work. I wasn't drinking. Everybody else was drinking. But then like the next day I wake up and I'm like, I can't find the camera. I can't find the camera. And I was like, I called that bar. I was like, did I leave a camera here? And they're like, no. And it was like weird because I was like almost more mad that like I lost this expensive camera, but I was almost more mad that like I lost like a whole day worth of footage and video and stuff that I had. I was like, oh God, a whole day of stuff I videoed that was actually some good stuff and it's just gone. And then I just like a day later, like moved the dirty clothes that are in a pile in my hotel room off the floor. And I'm like, oh, it was here the whole time. Son of a gun just falls out of a pile of clothes. And I'm like, it was like one of those things where I'd made peace with it. I'm like, well, I lost the camera. I lost that day of footage. This sucks, but just crap happens. You just got to deal with it. And then I move some dirty clothes. It's like, poop, poop. And I'm like, oh my God. That
have
was,
you
that was a crazy one.
have you done the lightsaber building experience there?
No, I have not because like when we went with my family, that was when I was gonna do it because that was like the only time I was with like my wife or anybody that I thought would be like fun to do it with. But it was like I was kind of saying, it was like that trip ended up being like there was like 10 of us down there together. So it was like all 10 of us like family trip where like we're all gonna do all the same stuff. And like that was something like nobody else in my family really would want to do. So we never really spun off and did it. And then it's become a thing where like the last couple of times I went, like I've either been by myself or I've been with friends that I was kind of meeting up with for just things. So I was just kind of like fly, go, 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 shorter trips recently. So
Mhm.
I haven't had the chance to do that. And also it's kind of one of those things where like I really wanted to do it when they first introduced it. And then it kind of, I wouldn't say lost its luster, but like it's been so long. It's like, oh, it's not as cool as it seemed
Yeah,
like when I first was like, so I remember like seeing like the early videos when people were first doing it, like they're lifting their, everybody's like, oh my God, I got a lightsaber. I was like, I have to do that. And then it's just like, I missed the window where it was like super exciting to me, but like, uh, yeah, that's one area, the Star Wars area. It's good. It should be better.
yeah. I'm so excited to go. We were watching your video, and like you got to the Star Tours ride, which I know is like a least like a ride there, but I
I
skipped
love
through
Star
because I
Tours.
I don't want to know any spoilers. I want to go into all the Star Wars stuff line because that's like the one part that like I truly care about.
Yeah. Star Tours
Um,
is sneaky great because it's actually fun. Like it's like it's old now. It's been out since like I think it first opened in like 1985, but it still feels like kind of modern for like what it is. And like it never
oh
has more than like a 10-minute wait anymore. So it's like it's like you can just jump on it any time and like they've added a bunch of different stories to it. It's like every time you ride it, it's kind of like a different experience. So Star Tours is like it gets like hated on for whatever reason, but I think it's like sneaky pretty good.
does it just focus on like the originals?
No, it's got stuff like so. Uh, no spoilers, but the theme of it is basically like you're on like a travel agency flight that goes through the Star Wars galaxy, and you get wrapped up into one of the crazy adventures of the Star Wars universe. So they have ones, like I said, it changes every time you ride it. Like it could be a different one every time. They have ones that are like more original trilogy. They have ones that are new trilogy. They have ones that are prequel trilogy. They even I think I don't know if they still have it, but for a while they had even like a Mandalorian kind of themed one. And sometimes it interchanges where you'll be in like a scene that's from like which continuity people might get a little bummed out about this, but you might be like in Jar Jar Binks' underwater world, and then you pop up, and all of a sudden you're flying into like Hoth, and it's like, wait a minute, these aren't part of the same part of the story. What are we doing here? So, but it's fun
Yeah,
still, like because it's like just like a little bouncy motion simulator ride, but like it's very Star Wars to the core. So I always enjoy it, and like I said, it rarely ever has more than a 15-minute wait, which is a miracle at Disney World.
yeah. Are you you're a big Star Wars guy, right?
Oh yeah, I love Star Wars.
You watched Andor?
I watched the first season. I haven't got to the second season yet. It's one of those things where it's like it's on my list, and I just haven't got around to it. And everybody's like just freaked out about how it's even better than the first season, which was incredible. So it's like I just like
Dude,
I need another day. Like I need another like snow week where we just get frozen in for a week to where I can just because I know if I watch one, I'm not going to be able to stop watching. So I like that's what stopped me from watching it so far is like I need like a good solid like whatever it's going to be like 6 7 hours where I can just burn through it and not have to like stop and come back like 2 or 3 days later. 6 7 yeah 6 7 yeah. So that's the only thing that's kept me from watching the second season is that I want to be able to kind of watch it all in one fell swoop, and I haven't had a good free window to be able to do that.
you got to. It's probably the. I mean, dude, it's up there with like probably the best Star Wars like ever. Like it's just it's so good. It's what could be in top five TV shows. Really. But I think we've blabbered on enough about non-soccer stuff. We should probably
Dude,
call it.
like I said, I could go 2 more hours talking about this stuff, but it is probably a good idea to just cut me off before I just keep rambling.
I'm sure we will have more. Like as I start doing more research into Disney stuff, I'm sure we'll have plenty more to talk about up until doing the podcast from the Disney hotel with, you know, Lightning McQueen or Little Mermaid on the wall behind me. Um,
Nice.
but so yeah, thank you guys for listening. Hopefully you like Disney. Um, hopefully you like Nashville SC, and hopefully you don't like Messi. It's been a great week. We will see you guys next week. Wormy on YouTube, and then Dylan tries to read on TikTok. Matt, if you want to plug yourself.
Yeah, Uncle Mad, always with 2 Ds. Sometimes there's an underscore, sometimes there's not. Twitter, Instagram, I have threads, but the only thing I post there is my Wordle scores. And then obviously I'm on YouTube at Uncle Mad as well.
Sweet. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next.